man.
What's up, guys? My name's Antonio. I go by Gallo. I'm a tattoo artist here in Pico, and I focus in black and gray realism.
Sick, awesome. What are we working on today, bro?
Right now, I'm doing a Virgin Mary, a pretty classic design. Every time I do them, I just try to tweak something a little bit. Like this one had the eyes open. I just put the eyes closed for this one. I've done this one a good amount of times.
And I see that you're doing a hand stencil. Is that part of your process?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I actually used to use my iPad a lot to stencil, but I noticed that I was trying to put like too much detail in there every single time, and once I got to tattooing, I would kind of get lost in my stencil almost. So it was actually bogus. And when that kind of told me like, bro, you're putting too much detail into your designs. Like you got to simplify them a little bit. So I've been stenciling for maybe like about a year now. Yeah, I think and I notice it in my work a lot. It definitely has changed the way my designs come out, the way it heals too.
Where are we at today?
Self-titled tattoo here in Pico Rivera.
How long have you been here at Self-Titled?
I've been here, I started in January, so like a year and a half now. A year and a half, yeah. Damn, time flies.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from South Central, South LA, like borderline downtown area. That's where I pretty much born and raised out there.
How was your upbringing?
I would say it was cool for the most part, but I think living in South Central, it's always like a little rough, for sure. Like it's like really ghetto out there, but I feel like I didn't notice how ghetto it was until I started being outside like that area. Mm-hmm. So the way that I see it now, I think it was kind of rough. Like just the surroundings, not necessarily my upbringing, but just like where I grew up, it was kind of rough. But overall, my upbringing was pretty good, I would say.
Are you Mexican?
Yeah, Mexican, bro. Both parents.
So you had a traditional Mexican upbringing?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
What high school did you go to?
I went to right there, Santee Education Complex, right off of like Washington and Santee, like by the blue line.
And how were you as a teenager, as a young adult? What were you into?
I was for sure into like sports. I was never really like a bad kid. Like I wasn't doing like bad shit. Probably like as bad as it got was like maybe like fighting at school or like ditching school here and there. But I was never involved into like gangs and stuff like that. It was mainly like sports and just hanging out. Nothing crazy.
So on Instagram, I see that you play soccer. Is that one of the main sports that you were into?
Yeah. I pretty much played soccer my whole life.
Ever thought of like going pro or anything like that?
I think everyone that's really invested into a sport like that at some point has that dream of making it pro. And I for sure did. I'm not gonna lie, I did. And I think that dream was crushed when I started playing for Santa Monica College, and I came across like a lot of talent that was like, fuck, like there's no way if these fools don't make it pro, I'm not making it pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I for sure wanted to. I think in my head, it was always there.
What were you focusing on studying when you went to Santa Monica?
Like the first 2 years, bro, I was just kind of going to get my general eds. I didn't really had anything in mind. Mm-hmm. I tried like kinesiology because I think I wanted to study something in sports related. Then I tried psychology. Then I ended up sticking with business management and administration. But I feel like I was just doing it just because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And
you went under a soccer scholarship?
No, I just tried out for the team. Yeah, I played for high school, but I didn't go through a scholarship.
Oh, okay. Did you end up finishing college?
So I went for 5 years, bro. I went for 5 years, and I ended up getting my associates, but it took me those 5 years. Mm-hmm. So technically, no, I was going for my bachelor's, but I didn't end up sticking with school. I was kind of like the last 2 years that I completed, it was like in and out. Yeah.
Was it that school wasn't really for you, or just other things going on in your life?
I think a little bit of both. I kind of felt like school wasn't for me, but I didn't really know what else I needed to do. So I kind of tried sticking to school because that's what some of my friends were doing, and I feel like that was kind of like the expectation that my parents had to just stick with school, get a good job, and I didn't know how else to do it, so I kind of just tried sticking to school until I realized like this is not for me.
Yeah. How old are you now?
I'm 30.
30.
Yeah.
So after you finished school, because you said you got your associates, what was your next move after that?
After that, so actually what happened was I was working for UPS and I was waiting for a promotion. And they told me in order to go into this promotion, you need your bachelor's. So that's how I ended up going back to school that additional last year. And then what ended up happening is one of the guys got fired and I was up next, but I didn't have my bachelor's. So they kind of just told me, like, we're going to put you in this position, but
Yeah.
make sure you still get your bachelor's.
Okay.
But once they put me in that position, I just stopped going to school. You know, I was like, the whole point of me going to school was to get this position, but I'm already here,
Yeah.
so I just stopped going. And that's what I did for 7 years after that
At UPS.
at UPS. Yeah, it was the position I was going for was human resources.
Oh shit. Usually when you think UPS, people think like a driver.
Right, like packages. Yeah,
And when did tattooing come into the picture?
me starting a tattoo, I was 25 years old, so it was 2021.
And were you artistic growing up? Were you into drawing?
I've always been into, like, even in college, I took a few art classes, but I kind of stopped doing it just because I lost the passion just working and just taking care of their stuff. You know, you get a girlfriend, you lose. It was just kind of like a thing I did on the side, and it was just kind of like extra time I didn't have for
Yeah.
it anymore. Yeah. But yeah, I've always been into art.
And from what you remember, when was the first time you actually tattooed someone?
It was 2021. Yeah, I tattooed my sister. Yeah.
How did that happen?
She just like se prestó, like she was just like, hey, like, you got your machine now, like, are you down to do a tat on me?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom, she walked in because I did it at her place. Well, she was living with my mom and it was in her room, and my mom walked in and she was pissed. Like, it was like 2 a.m. and she walked into her room and she was like, what are you doing? Like, and you know, like traditional Mexican mom, like
Yeah.
they frown upon like tattoos and shit like that.
Yeah. So you said that you had your machine. So how did that happen? How did you have the interest in to start to tattooing?
The interest was, I think, just came down to me getting a lot of tattoos. Like, realistically, like, that's kind of how the thought came to my head. And obviously, me having a background in art, I kind of thought I could just like, I was like, oh, this shouldn't be too hard, you know, which wasn't true at all. But I just in my head thought like, oh, I'm artistic myself. Like, maybe there's something I could do,
Yeah.
you know. And but I think it just came from me getting tattoos a lot, because also I remember being at work already and I had like my hands tatted, and in the position I was, it was getting like harder and harder to hide my tattoos, and it just felt like, I know this is not what I want to do. Like, I want to do something else, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I clicked. Like, I think I was getting tatted here, and I brought it up to Bogus. I was like, hey bro, like, you know, like, do you think like tattooing is something that anyone could do? He's like, yeah, I think anyone could do it, like, as long as you put the effort in and stuff like that. So it kind of just made me think like maybe I could do it, you
Yeah.
know. I still wasn't thinking like, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I for sure was like, maybe it's something I could do.
We're here with Bogus.
What's up, guys?
So far,
what's up?
how's your experience with Gallo been?
It's been good. Actually, I met him like maybe 6 years ago, probably, right?
Yeah.
I started tattooing him, and at the time he had like a regular job, and I remember him asking me like some tattoo questions. You know, and you get that a lot, bro. You get a lot of people that will ask you all the time, bro, like that they're trying to learn how to. Was this connected or no? Is that cool? My bad, wait. You need it. They'll just like ask you certain like, oh, I'm trying to learn how to tat, or they'll be kind of curious about it, and obviously at the beginning you're like, it's kind of like bullshit, you know what I mean? But then the more he would come, the more better questions he'll start asking me, and I'm like, oh shit, like this fool's actually like, you know, he's actually like investing time into it, you know. You could tell by the type of questions people ask you how invested they are, how deep they are into actually doing it, you know. And then I think after maybe like 2-3 years, he started working at a shop, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, damn, bro, you know, once you start working at a shop, bro, for the most part, it's pretty serious, man. Like, there's not really, at least any artist, bro, you should never turn back for you. You should never get into a shop and then it not work out for you. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a serious thing, bro, that you're
Yeah.
doing, getting into this shit. So like, I feel like once you start getting that far as far as like you're in a shop like that's you're pretty committed, you know. So I was like happy about that, and it's very rare, like just in anything in life, that that people actually say that they're gonna do shit and they actually go through with it, you know. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. And then I continued to tattoo him, and then I think he moved from the shop he was at to a shop right here down the street. And then then he would show me his work and shit like that. And because, you know, the Instagram, bro, it's like so many artists, bro, you know,
Yeah.
like, and then I started paying more, like he showed me some pieces and I was like, oh shit, I started paying more attention to his stuff. And then his stuff would come up on my Instagram a lot more. And then I just seen a lot of progress, man. And I seen that he was hungry, and yeah, man, that he was leveling up, man. And then he had hit me up to work right here. And at the time it didn't really line up. There was too many of us here. And then one of the guys that was here, he ended up moving, and it just
What, Chris?
No, I think it was Garth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he moved. He bought a pad, and then he moved out there to to the Inland Empire, like more out there. And then I hit him up. I was like, "Fuck yeah, man!" Like, because that to me, man, that's kind of the thing that I like to hire dudes like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've had some cool opportunities, man, to hire pretty cool people, but not that I wouldn't want like a super established artist. Like, that's really cool too. But I like dudes that are hungry, bro.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I like. I like dudes that are working all the time. Like, I just hired the homie Al over here, Copycat. He tattoos since he's been here, for taking one fucking day off, bro. He's doing 2 appointments a day. Like, he's just working, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to be around. You know, because I think like after a while, if you're in the right setting and you have, you know, we get some dope guest artists, like Nez is here right now. Like, that's fucking right, the homie.
Oh,
Yeah, like,
hells yeah.
you know, we get some dope guest artists here, and there's dope artists that work here, and you know, it's like you being around that, it pushes you to have to do better and work harder, and you know, step your shit up, you know. And that's what he's done here, man. God's done that for sure since he started working here. He has a crazy work ethic, man. Like straight up, dude. Like, it's pretty impressive, dude. I think like last week I shot a YouTube video, and when I left pretty late, like maybe at midnight, and this fool was like barely starting, bro. Like a big fucking, like, had barely put the stencil on. I'm like, God damn, bro. Like, you know, I remember doing shit like that. I can't do stuff like that. Like, I could if I want, but like, I don't think, like, it'll fuck me up the next
Yeah.
day, you know? And then, so like, this fool be doing shit like that. And I think he finished like at 6:30 in the morning, and then I had hit him up to come and work out with us to do the YouTube video, and he went straight from here to the gym, bro, and then finished the gym and came back here and worked, no sleep. You know, crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's a little, you know, that's a little crazy, bro. But you know, that shows, man, that you got to do what you got to do, and you know, you're gonna, when the clients are there. I know he said right now about being booked out. You know, like, I'm not booked out like a whole fuckload either, bro. I book out like maybe a month, bro. You know, but at the same time, that month it's only a month because we're working 7 days a week and we're getting 2 people in sometimes a day. So that could be stretched out to 2 months. Like him, he says 1 or 2 weeks, but he's trying to get 1 or 2 people in. You know, you're trying to accommodate for the clients, and you're just trying to. That's the thing with tattooing. It's just like doing it all the time, bro. Everything that you do here outside of the shop, everything should be for tattooing, bro. You know what I mean? To get better, make more money, you know, fucking do sick pieces, get your clients pumped, you know, like get people to want to get more shit, you know. So it's cool, man. It's been dope having them here, and the energy is like, look at how much people are here, bro. You know, like the
Full house.
Yeah, there's a lot of us right now. Tattooing is like 1, 2, 3. My appointment's back there too. You know, like it's always like this, bro, like during the week too, you know. And this is a shit I like to be around, because you come in here and you're like, fuck, man, can't be in here not working, you know, or I can't, you feel me? Or you miss 2 days and you're like, damn, a lot of shit happened in 2 days. A lot of cool tattoos, a lot of shit happened here, bro. You missed out on a lot not being here. So it's cool, man.
What was the first machine you got?
My first machine was a Bishop Solnova that actually I bought from Andrew from Bogus, because once I mentioned it to him, he told me, I'm selling my machine if you want to buy it. And I bought his machine.
And once you started tattooing, what kind of tattoos were you doing at that time?
I was doing like whatever, like little small stuff, like whatever my friends wanted. Honestly, like it could have been a little name, a little like star. It was just anything. I didn't have a focus at that time.
Whatever came in.
Whatever came in, yeah, I was just trying to get that practice on.
And how long into you decided I want to actually do this like full time?
As a full time. So that probably took like 2 years after that because I still held on to my job. It was like, secure money. It was a good job and it's a good company. So it took me a while to be like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was already doing kind of both. And I think it wasn't until like 2 years where it got to being too much. And I felt like I had to make a decision. I knew that if I wanted to progress in tattooing, I had to for sure like leave my job.
Yeah.
There was no way that I could get better if I didn't leave my job. So I would say like 2 years in, it took me a while to like make a for sure decision.
UPS is a good job, right? I'm sure it was a good paying job, also in the position that you were.
Yeah.
What started changing at your job that made you want to focus more on tattooing?
I think it was like I said, bro, like I just knew that that's not what I wanted to do and just feeling uncomfortable at work. Like like in that profession, you will rarely come across anyone that even has a single tattoo. And sometimes like I'll go to these meetings and I could just feel the looks that I'll get because like I'll try to cover them up as much as I could, but like my neck was already tatted, my hands were tatted, and so I almost felt like I had to hide a little bit of who I was,
Yeah.
Almost felt like I was living like a double life. Like I'd go to work and I'll have to like cover up. And then it was also like I think like during COVID, so some of us were wearing like the latex gloves
Yeah.
over there, so it helped a lot. But then like I'll get off of work and I'll have to like take everything off. Like
Yeah.
I was able to like kind of be me almost.
Did you begin getting an apprenticeship?
No, so I tatted a little bit for my house, and then I was recommended to get into a shop. And the shop that I went to, they call it like an apprenticeship, but it's kind of like a free for all. You're not like you're not really under anyone. You're doing like apprentice duties, like cleaning the shop and welcoming in clients, but nobody's really teaching you anything at that shop that I was at where I started.
How long were you there for?
I was there for 3 years.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I was there for, in my mind, a little bit longer than I should have.
So we got the infamous Bobby. Do you want to do a little introduction about yourself, Bobby? What you specialize in?
Yeah, I specialize in black and gray, anything realistic, especially religious is kind of the thing that I like doing the most, but anything black and gray.
What are you working on today?
I'm doing a Day of the Dead girl. She's praying, elbow to shoulder. About it, bro.
How long have you been tattooing for?
I've been tattooing around 8 years or so.
So, today we're doing an interview for Gallo. So far, what do you think about Gallo?
Gallo is probably one of my favorite people, not just in the tattoo shop, but out the tattoo shop. He's one guy in here that we joke all the time and we're very competitive, but it's like a brotherly bond. Gallo's definitely someone that motivates me and pushes me daily. Solid guy.
Hopefully, Bobby will want to do a full interview with on Blasted. So, if you guys do, make sure you guys post in the comment section that you guys want to see a Blasted interview with Bobby.
Heck yeah.
After that, what was your next move?
After that, so I didn't end bad with the owner, but just like some disagreements. So I just ended up working by myself for a little bit. My mom had this salon in East LA, and I worked there for maybe 3 months on my own.
And when after that, did you decide to come over here?
So actually, when I left that shop, I asked Andrew if he had a spot here for me, and he told me that not at the moment, but someone was possibly gonna leave, that he'll get back to me. So in the meantime, I just worked on my own. Then I ended up going to this tattoo shop here in Downey called Data Inc. And I was there for maybe 2 months. And then Andrew hits me up. He's like, hey, if you still want to come, I have a spot for you.
Yeah.
So I was like, no brainer, huh?
How did that make you feel once you got the green light to come over here?
It made me feel aside from nervous, because I know everyone's here killing it, it felt like that's where I belong. You know, those are like, because I had already been here. I got most of my tattoos from this shop, so I had met some of the guys, and I was like, I know like that's where I need to
Yeah.
be. You know?
You already feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And so far, how has your experience been down here?
Here, I would say even better than I thought it would be. Like I've built friendships here. Aside from like just working with these guys, I built a good bond with these guys. It's been a really good experience. Super close to my house too.
Have you grown as an artist here? Like learn new techniques and stuff
For
like that?
sure. I think like the year and a half that I've been here has been like the biggest progress I've done throughout my whole career. Just like learning off of these guys and feeling that pressure on my shoulders of, you know, getting as good as these guys or in their level. Because like as far as experience, I have like the least years of tattooing than anyone here.
Yeah.
So that pressure is definitely always on my shoulders.
So now that you've been doing this full time, what kind of advice would you give to someone that's stuck in a 9 to 5 that wants to pursue tattooing full time?
I would say the sooner you do it, the more you will start to progress. Because I think what stopped me so much was I had a good job. I think it would have been easier if I had like a shitty job and maybe like I hated my job so much. Maybe that would have made it a lot easier for me to quit. But I think I held on to my job for a little longer than I should have. I think if I would have let go of my job a lot sooner, I would have started progressing a lot sooner too. So I would say the sooner you let go of that job, it'll kind of put you in that situation of like sink or swim. Either you're gonna make it or you're not gonna make it. And realistically, like you could always go back to that job. Like I didn't when I left that job. I think even when I left, I still kind of left with a little bit of doubt in my head, and I didn't burn any bridges, so I always felt like I could go back.
Oh.
But realistically, like any job that you leave, it's always gonna be there. So the sooner you take that jump, the sooner you'll realize whether you're gonna do it or not.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, because a lot of people get used to having a 9 to 5 because that's all they had.
It's secure income too. Like you know, like when you start tattooing on your own, especially if you're not working for a shop that can bring you walk-ins, it's kind of like it's all up to you. It's all up to you, and a lot of doubt comes in. Like, oh shit, like I have nobody hitting me up. I have nobody booking.
And what works for you now that you're tattooing full time? How do you stay consistent? How do you stay booked?
I would say like that's still like a continuous thing that you kind of have to always be working on. Like personally, me, like now I'm getting more into content. Like when I started tattooing, I didn't even care to show my face or anything. I just wanted my work. I wanted to focus on my work, push good workout, and I just thought that that's what tattooing would be. And like soon enough, I found out like it doesn't matter if your work is good if you're not pushing content out there. Like you're not gonna get booked.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you still are like word of mouth and shit like that, but you just kind of have to adapt to whatever your industry is doing, you know, and which for me has been like content, you know. And personally, I don't think I'm good at talking to a camera, especially like holding the phone. It just feels so weird.
Yeah.
Like, who am I talking to, you know? But it's just one of those things that you kind of have to be very adaptive to your environment, and that's what will essentially get you booked. Wherever the flow is going of your industry, if you hop on it, you won't be left behind, and that's how you end up getting booked.
And I've seen the content that you have been posting, and it's pretty cool. I've noticed that you post a lot working out, playing soccer, and you mix that with your tattoo content. Does that work for you?
I've still I think it does work for me, but I'm definitely still playing around with it. I know some things don't work as good as other things, but so far, what I could say, it's been working for me. Yeah.
Nice. How booked are you so far? Are you like, is it like a weekly thing or?
Like 2 weeks to a week in advance sometimes. Like right now, July's looking pretty good, but there's times where, and I think it goes back to that like content. There was a time where I went like not really posting anything, and I was like, man, I had like maybe like 3 days in advance, and then like maybe like the monthly kind of spotty here and there. But right now, probably like 2 weeks in advance.
So how does it feel, bro, being tattooing next to Bogus, Bobby, Iron Eyes?
Definitely like all of them are like people I look up to, bro. So just being able to tattoo, sometimes it kind of just feels like fuck. Like this is where a lot of tattoo artists would want to be and end up, you know. So I definitely don't take it for granted. It's just something that sometimes it becomes like normal, you know, like oh I'm with these guys, but every now and then like I'll step back and I'm like fuck, I'm working with like super sick artists, and it's pretty crazy to think that, you know. I think like everyone here, bro, I look up to everyone here in a different way, you know, and I think like I heard like everyone talking about like the hard work ethic and stuff like that, but like realistically, like I get it from them too. You know, I try to match their work. I try to put in as much work as I see them putting, and I just do it at the end also because you don't want to be in a shop where everybody's sick and you're like the only
Yeah.
one fucking slacking off. You know?
Just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly. Like he said, like we all kind of push each other too. So it feels pretty good, bro. Like I like coming here to work. I like environment. Even sometimes where I don't work, I'll just come to kick it, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And how does it feel tattooing in the same location with Bogus?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is like nerve wracking because I know how good this was. I know like he could see shit like right away. Even just looking at my stencil, sometimes like he'll look at my stencil and he'll be like, "Let me look at your stencil," and then he'll point something out.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely like nerve wracking, but I know it's like in a good way. It's like that good pressure.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there's any, I would call it bad feedback. I think all the feedback I get here is good. You know, I don't take it in any bad way,
Yeah.
obviously. You know, no one here will give you any feedback in a bad way. So everything that he tells me, I try to, you know, improve it on the next one, or I try to tweak it while he's telling me. I always take it, you know, and I run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you said you wanted to do HR, was that more like corporate? Were you in more?
Yeah, it was corporate. Yeah.
So how are you implementing your corporate skills into your tattooing world?
That's a good question. I would just say like people skills, bro. Like there was a lot of like problem solving for sure, a lot of stress, a lot of mental stress, and I feel like you're gonna come across that with tattooing too. So I think being able to manage people in the sense of how you talk to them, and just being able to manage that stress without having to show it too much, you know, because
Yeah.
then like if you're showing your stress, like people see it and you give off like a bad energy almost, I
Yeah.
think. So I would say that just like people skills and like learning to manage the stress, definitely.
And you're part of a newer generation of tattoo artists, right? Now we live in a time where people are using AI. Is that something that you also use for yourself?
I do, bro. I do when it comes to like putting a piece together. I definitely don't let AI take over the creativity part of it, but I definitely do it to just help me get the design out like a little bit faster, you know, or there's certain things like I can't per se like do. I'll definitely use AI to get that done, yeah.
And what's most important to you when it comes to tattooing?
What's most important? I would say definitely first and foremost, just how your work is gonna look when it's healed. That's like the top of everything. And then other things that would fall under, I would say like how it flows on the body, and then obviously like how you treat the client too. You know, but first and foremost, how your work is gonna look healed, because that's like what the client is coming to you for.
Yeah.
You know.
And when you book people, do you book half day sessions, full day sessions?
I usually no. I kind of just have like a price set for like a forearm, a arm. I don't really do like folded. I don't really count them like that just yet. That's been one of the things I kind of been also going back and forth on, because I know a lot of people charge like by the hour or by the. I would say I do it more by the piece rather than half day and full day.
Right now we're in the end of June 2026. If you don't mind talking about your prices, what can people expect to get a piece from you when it comes to price?
When it comes to price, bro, I would say I'm definitely like on a little bit on the lower end. Like for this piece, I'm charging them $600, and it's going on the forearm. So it's I would say definitely on the lower side, but I believe that if you're gonna put your prices up, because I used to do forearms for like $200. So but it goes down to like, one, obviously the quality of your work, but two is like, can you book out with this amount of price, you know? So I always try to, once I feel like, okay, I'm booked out at 600, then I'll bump it up to like 800 or 900, you know? It'll just depends on how booked I'm getting. That's kind of how I see it, you know?
Nice. And do you work with people too when it comes to like, you know, prices and budget? Or you stick to your firm price?
I do. If very few times I will very few times. Maybe if it's something that I've really been looking forward to doing, like a big project that I'm like, damn, I've been wanting to do this, I'll work with it. If it's like nothing crazy where like I'm getting robbed or anything like that. But for the most part, I'd say like 98% of the time I'm firm on the price
Nice.
I give. Yeah, because I already know, like, you know, for the amount of work that I'm doing, it's like already damn near a hookup, you know.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked too, because you know sometimes a lot of the times people don't understand the struggles of a tattoo artist, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to, I think being a tattoo artist is a job where you have to pay out of pocket in order to tattoo. When it comes to either paying rent to a place for tattoo or paying a percentage, or also your supplies, right? So
Yeah.
what are some things for clients out there that don't know some of the struggles that you guys have to go through as an artist?
That's a good question, bro. I was actually thinking of doing a video on that, but I would say the biggest thing is sometimes clients don't know how much work we put outside of what we're just presenting them. Like for example, I used to have the design stenciled out and ready to go on my iPad. So by the time the client got here, we just started like straight tattooing. But then I saw a lot of these guys just kind of work on the design with the client there and then stencil it almost in front of them, and that kind of gives them an idea of how much work you're putting even aside from that. So I would say just like one thing that client doesn't see is just how much effort it goes into that just piece alone, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is that does that answer the question?
Yeah,
or no?
yeah,
I know
yeah.
you were talking about like materials and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
right?
Well, because at the same time too is like sometimes I talk to a lot of artists, and some artists, they make good money, right? Like
Yeah.
let's say for sure doing a tattoo, they're making like $1,000 or 1,200,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But sometimes they don't understand that they might be paying like $1,000 in rent.
Oh, okay. I see what
know?
you mean. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have a son.
Yeah.
You also have to pay your bills and rent and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah.
why I asked you if sometimes people try to like, if you work with people,
Yeah.
or sometimes it's hard to work with some clients and their budgets and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I price very fairly to the in consideration to the amount of years I've been tatting. But if I were to put on the amount of effort I put, I definitely I would say I'm undercharging, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And like even some of the guys here have told me like, bro, you're charging like way too low. Like you should like bump it up.
Yeah.
And I could, but I feel like I just want to stick there a little bit more, a little bit longer, and then
Yeah.
I'll bump it up. But I definitely do agree with that. A lot of clients don't know how much effort it goes, the supplies, the rent, because sometimes like people want to get a tattoo because they just think like, oh, it's like something so small, or like something so quick. It could be quick, but like you don't know like the amount of like supplies that are going into this tattoo, or the amount of just like me spending the time here because I'm paying rent. You know, and all that comes into accountability for sure, bro. Yeah.
What would you like to be known as?
What would I like to be known as? I would just say someone that's like hardworking, puts good work out there, just like loves what he does, because that's what it is. I love what I do, and like with tattooing, like I've dropped so many other things that I thought I loved, like soccer, even going to the gym. At some point, I was just like so focused in tattooing that I dropped everything else, So I would say like just someone that loves what he does and just wants to push like good work out there, constantly improving. That's what I would say.
And what are your goals for the future?
My goals for the future, as far as like my career, tattooing, definitely keep improving. Never get like complacent, because I know in this industry there's been a lot of points where I could say like, oh, like I could just stop here, you know, like I have decent clientele, I'm at a decent level, like it's so easy to just, and I see it all around me too, like not around here, but like a lot of artists that started around the same time as me, they either become complacent or they just fall off. So I would say a goal for the future is just never stop growing, you know, and definitely never stop growing. As far as like if we're talking about like material things that have to do with this, or no?
Just anything when it comes to like you, like, you know, a lot of people when it comes to tattooing, they go in to tattooing for the wrong reasons, you know what I mean? They want the money.
Oh, okay,
you
okay.
know,
Yeah,
they want the
you.
fame. They wanna be buff like Bogus. You know what I mean? Like,
You want all that
Yeah, I do too. But
but as for you, you know, what do you want to accomplish? You know, like in 10 years.
definitely, I wanna make a name for myself, bro. Like I don't see myself like I know like the goal for a lot of people is like, oh, own my own shop and this and that. I feel like I want to for sure own either a business or some property, but outside of tattooing, not really tattooing related. But definitely make a name out for myself. You know, a name where my work is respected by many artists, many known artists, and that I'm known for my work. You know, I don't because like I know a lot of tattoo artists are like known for their content and like not to like throw any shade, but like their work is like okay, you know, but they're known for their content. Dang. Like that's not what I want to get known by, you know. But definitely build a name for myself and just tattoo as far as I could take it, you know, as far as my body allows me to.
Hey, how do I input a picture with? I already sent it to your ship. I want to get a little surprises and see some weird stuff.
I don't have weird shit here, fool. There's a work iPad. Right there. Oh, you should have. No, that's fine.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I've been using it for a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's the AI. You be teaching them the AI.
He has an iPad, bro. ChatGPT.
It's live.
All tech now, huh?
This we used to talk shit about it.
No, it's crazy, bro. How AI is it's a game changer, bro. And there's a lot of hate on it by the old heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they hate
bro.
it, you know. But just like, you know, the world is changing. You got to change with it.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
Look at Bogus now creating AI design.
Look at him.
Also add some brain hams.
And he's gonna love it too right now where it comes out.
Let's see.
How the fuck does it know, fool? That shit's crazy.
It knows, bro. It knows.
But I probably just wasted a bunch of water, they say, right?
Yeah. A lot of resources.
To keep it cool.
I took a water out of Bobby's mouth.
Yeah.
Every time
His future kids.
You know what they're doing in China? They're putting the servers under the sea and water to keep it.
Smart, huh?
That's smart, yeah. Reusing that water, huh?
Let's see, what is it saying?
Oh, I kind of fucked up because I have the other ones there, huh, fool?
That's what I was gonna tell you, Crop It. But sometimes it'll like know which one you're talking about.
Really quick, that I have you here, Bogus. So right now that you're learning AI, how has that changed things for you?
Honestly, if I'm not gonna lie, bro, I've only used it like four times recently, and yeah, bro. But I will say this: I was talking to Nez about it the other day, and I was telling him that, like, for some reason, because yesterday I did a Virgin Mary, and I was gonna throw it through. It was cool, the reference, but it was a little bit blurry, and there was like a little bit of details that were kind of missing on it. And what I've done recently is I'll when I'm in a situation like that. I recently did it with like a Virgin Mary and a Jesus. I like the reference, but there was detail missing. I threw it through here and I just put it without changing anything on the reference, enhance the photo, sharpen it, and basically like just make it look like nicer. You know what I mean? Damn, that's looking my tick. And it was cool, but it does something, bro, where it adds too much, too much stuff to the face sometimes, and it looks cool, but if you don't like understand like some of the anatomy of the face, and you kind of you'll kind of like overdo things on the tattoo a little bit, you know, and opposed to like, because the image that I was gonna throw through here was like kind of like a classic Mary kind of piece, you know, and I feel like when you kind of like just do it like let's say if the photo is a little washed out, and you kind of use your experience and your like art abilities and knowledge, and you kind of do your thing, you kind of stylize it yourself, and then when you tattoo it, it comes out like your own little unique way, in opposed to like it kind of putting everything there for you, and then it kind of takes away from you using a little bit of your artistic ability. You get me? So right now I'm gonna use it on this one. This one came out fire, bro. I like how this came out. I'm not gonna do any of this bullshit, but it came out pretty cool. Right? It's pretty sick, huh?
No.
Should I change anything or no? Oh, let me see. Just ask. Let me ask you one more thing. Okay. Can we simplify the veil a little bit? Not too much. That bad?
No, I think, yeah.
It's because it had like all that bullshit, bro. I don't want.
Yeah.
Just gonna
we're
put
doing
a
the
whack
same.
one, huh?
Sometimes it simplifies it way too much.
Yeah, huh?
Sometimes.
So that's good that you said a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm gonna do another one after. But it's awesome, bro. It's so sick. You know, like to think like how the fuck did it do that, bro? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure
what
about that,
database? Like, no, that it didn't really do anything, fool, huh?
Retry. Sometimes it won't.
What are you guys using? Chat?
ChatGPT, yeah. There's probably better ones out there, but this is like the.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Cool. Do it again.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Leave it.
I put retry
Oh, okay.
because sometimes it'll just for some reason do the same shit.
Because it's a trial one, huh?
Yeah.
Pay the $20, bro.
That's like he does all this work for you. You don't want to pay it $20. I don't even have it, bro. I gotta get it, fool.
No, you should get it, bro, because a lot of people think it's like, oh, you're using AI, and it's, but you could use it for more than just art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you, huh? Fool, you use it to enhance your body.
Dick. I run all my photos through it.
Make me look like Bogus.
Stupid. This will be working out. This will be working out too good, dog.
So how does it feel now, Bogus, having like younger generations? You know,
I honestly don't know how old this fool is, dude. Like, fool. I don't know how old this fool is. He always says different shit to people, dude. So I don't know if he's 25 or like 35, dude.
Fuck.
How old are you? Hey, for the camera, Dick.
Somewhere between the ages of 25 and 30. Somewhere in there.
That's crazy.
Somewhere in there.
people see a lot of younger guys, you know, blowing up.
Uh-huh.
US that's been in the game, how does that, you know, kind of like make you feel? Because I know a lot of old hits.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool, man. I definitely think just like with like anything, like there has to be a correction, bro. You know what I mean? Like eventually, like when things kind of with the Pokemon cards right now, or just with anything, like there's got to be a correction, bro. It's just getting out of hand, bro. You know, and I think that's definitely like kind of happened with tattooing. It's gotten a little bit out of hand, bro. Just like with artists editing their photos, just like artists that have more experience that are better, like not being as booked, and just a bunch of shit, bro. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be somewhat of a correction, you know. And I think that's kind of happening right now, you know, because I definitely like I feel the pressure, bro, of having to come here and have to do like even better shit, and I have to use every tattoo. Before, it's like you've been tattooing a while, you kind of get away with just like, you know, if I just come in here and do my thing, I'll do a solid tat every time. But it's like, I think now, especially if you're tattooing here, like Southern California, there's so many good artists. You got to try to put out some heat like every day, bro, if you fucking can. If the client, if it lines up, the client, the piece, all that shit, if it lines up, you got to put out some fire, bro. It doesn't matter how long you're going to be here for. You got to try to put out some good work. And that's how shit has always been with tattooing. That's how shit was when I was coming up. It's like every tattoo you do it like as you use it as an opportunity to get another client, bro. And we're right back to that. And like luckily for a lot of us here, you know, like I know for the one, like a lot of the older guys here, like we've always been that's a mentality that you had to have back then. Is you had to be a hustler, you had to be hungry, you know. And I've always been comfortable doing that. So to me, it hasn't really changed too much, bro. I think it's changed for the people that got comfortable, the people that thought like, oh, I could take my foot off the gas, the people that Yeah, they just got comfortable, bro. Like the older guys that got comfortable, they're not used to hustling the way that they used to have to maybe back in the day, you know. It's cool, man. I like it. It keeps you wanting to. It keeps this shit exciting, you know. I think when it's too good, sometimes just like with anything, and your back's not against the wall, you kind of lose like the competitiveness. You lose like there's no pressure there, you know. So now it's like it's kind of back to like how it was, bro. A little bit of a correction, and there's some old artists that are gonna rise to the occasion, bro. There's some fools that are not, and there's some young fools that are hungry, like how we were when we were younger, that are gonna capitalize on the shit. And now they got a lot of tools like this shit, and social media and all that, and they're gonna kill it, bro. So you can't be mad at them. Even if they're not that good, bro, you can't be mad at them. You know, they're just doing at a time. You know, I was fucking like that for sure, bro. You know.
Have they done it yet?
No, but I think I'm gonna keep this one. This one's fireful. Can you airdrop?
You didn't do it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna fuck with it on the computer myself.
Oh, it's just taking forever for some.
Just send it to me, fool. That's cool.
It's the free version, bro.
Nah. Actually, I do pay $20. This shit should be faster.
You use it, Nez? You use AI? Zero. Never, ever, ever.
I did for my house. And I called
Oh yeah. I remember you told me.
ChatGPT, can you give me inches?
What do you think about it, Nez?
What's up, everyone? My name is Eric Martinez. I go by Nez on Instagram, Nez Tattoos. And
What do you specialize in, really quick?
black and gray realism. A little bit more on the like experimental black and gray, kind of hyper. Like what would you say? Like a blend of everything. I feel, you know, Japanese sacred geometry and kind of like Gothic architecture. Yeah.
Where could people find you?
Obviously, I'm located in Oklahoma City, but I also come here to Los Angeles to work.
Sick. So Bogus asked you, what do you think about AI, or do you use AI?
So AI it's a tough topic, you know. Like I want to sometimes when I can't find a reference, I spend like an hour looking for something I really want, and I get to the point where like, should I do it? Should I do it? I have the app. I've used it for home stuff like my garage or to see how my backyard would look, and I've even tried designing stickers once. And my girl was like, "Hey, no, what are you doing? Like, draw it yourself. Like, you know how to draw." So I didn't even print the stickers out. I felt ashamed, you know. I was like, so it's something that I feel like you can use it to your advantage, you know. But I think it's gonna kill a part of you that makes you worth paying that money, you know. Like if you need that to charge people, you know, I think could kind of take away from the value.
Yeah.
I just think that, you know. But I think it can be used to your advantage, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It's a half and half
Half and
emotion,
half,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think I'll stay away from it for now, you know.
Yeah. Use a little bit from it, but don't, use it.
Yeah.
Full,
Well,
full
not for
on.
tattooing. Probably just for like my life stuff, I
Yeah,
guess, that I
yeah.
need, you know, because sometimes I'm too lazy to Photoshop like how a cabinet would look on the wall or something, you know, or some rims on a car.
Yeah.
But even that, I still feel bad because I'm wasting water. You know, I can take the 30 minutes to Photoshop it versus those 5 minutes it takes or 2 minutes to render it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah.
Cool. You also have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I do.
What's your YouTube channel?
It's under the Black and Gray Academy.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll add everything right here on the screen so you guys
cool.
can go
Thank
check out
you.
his
Yeah.
content.
Yeah,
Make
thank
sure
you
to
guys
subscribe.
for having me for that 1 minute.
Yeah, what kind of machine are you using, bro?
This is the Sol Nova Unlimited 4.0.
How long have you been using that machine?
For all my tats, maybe like a year now, bro. I used to use a Bishop, and for a little bit, I kind of bounced between the Bishop and this one.
And what do you like about the machine you're using right now?
This one, I like how smooth it is, bro. I feel like the Bishop is a little bit better at packing the black. But this one, I think, since I've been focusing more on getting a better tone on my grays, I kind of like how this one does it a little bit better. Or I think it's just a little bit easier to do it with this one.
What kind of needles are you working with?
I actually just started using Cheyenne. I was using Quadrant for a long time, but I recently, maybe like a month or so, I started using Cheyenne. Just Cheyenne across the board. Liners, mags.
Do you take out like 200 cartridges like Bogus?
Nah, not that many, but I understand why he uses so many. I use a lot too, but not crazy like that.
So off camera, Bogus mentioned that you used to do other type of work other than UPS
I knew he was gonna.
that you kind of wanted to talk
Hey,
about.
yo. Fucker. Yeah, bro. I've done a lot of jobs actually. Like you could think of anything, I've done it, bro. Anything, bro. Damn near, bro. I know they're talking about one specific job. Why this shit got all quiet, dude? Fuck. I know. Well, I know what they're talking about. I used to. It was only for a little bit. I just kind of always been like, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
But I was like a go-go dancer for a little
Oh
bit.
shit! All
Yeah.
right. Like
And I did
like
that.
Magic Mike.
Nah, not that crazy like that. So, like a go-go dancer is kind of like the apprentice of a stripper, kind of.
All right.
Like in a sense, kind of. So I did that for a little bit while I was going to college. Not because I needed it. I kind of just wanted to try it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you gotta make your money some way, you know.
Yeah, bro,
somehow,
like-
you know.
I saw some of the guys on stage and I was like, that shit's easy. Like I feel like I could do it.
Yeah,
like easy
yeah.
money. So I just gave it a go.
That's right. Bogus made sure I asked that question.
I
you
know.
so-
He told me he was. I thought he was fucking around, but yeah. And I haven't told. Not that I used to be kind of like ashamed of it, because I'm not. Because it was just like, I was just trying shit out, but I didn't really start telling anyone until I started.
Yeah.
I know. Until I
you-
started working here. Then that's when I was like, I don't really care.
Did Bogus ask you for any dance moves? Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that, bro. No, I'm not doing that, man.
You wanted to see some of the moves, right, Bogus?
I don't know any of them. I'm trying to get me to
You know-
try these.
This food would do really good in that industry, fool.
That's why, yeah, maybe I would.
Everybody in that industry looks like him. all buff and tatted.
So let's talk a little bit about your ink setup. What kind of ink are you using?
I use Dynamic. I like using I recently started using this one. The Blackout. It's like a little bit darker than I personally think a little bit darker than Triple Black, but I just don't like how messy it is. So I might go back to Triple Black.
Okay.
This one's like super pasty.
And you have a drop system?
I do, yeah. So I'll do this one, and then regular black, 50 or 75%. Then I'll do 8, 4, and 2. I don't really use this one though. That was just kind of like for comfort almost. Huh. Fuck. We do that shit here so much, like it's almost like a just natural response.
Also, why do they call you Gallo?
I think that came from my friends used to call me that because I used to like dressing like Gallo from Blood In Blood Out.
Oh, okay.
Like the muscle shirts and like the fedora.
Yeah.
And like I used to think that was cool. I still think, but I don't think I would dress like that anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess like you're in high school and you're trying to find your style and whatnot.
So a few last questions. You're still young in the industry, but what kind of advice would you give to someone that wants to become a tattoo artist?
I would say it's definitely not something you could just half-ass. If you're looking to like make a name for yourself and be respected in the industry, if you care about that, because I feel like tattooing got so big to where like people just do it on the side and they do like little small tattoos, and if that's what you're going for, like that's cool, you'll make a quick buck. But if you're trying to really build a name for yourself and trying to continuously grow and be respected by other artists, it's not something that you can half-ass, and it's definitely not something that it will come easy. Like I'm 5 years in some change, and there's still a lot of shit I'm like figuring out, constantly trying to work and like asking questions, growing, and I don't know. I ask myself sometimes, like, when do you get to that place where it's like, okay, like I fucking got it down all sick every single time, But yeah, definitely something that you can't be half-ass. You got to be all in, and you got to be prepared to be unbalanced. Like a lot of people talk about like balance, like work, life, family, and stuff like that. Like it balance is like in the tattooing industry, and I've heard many people say that is it doesn't exist, bro. It doesn't. Like you're gonna have to spend more time here than you do with your actual family.
Yeah.
That's the thing I would say. You got to be all in,
All in.
100%, 120%. That's what I would say, bro.
And for is there any future projects that you want to work on in the next coming months?
In the next few months, I have already a few clients where I'm starting to build their sleeves, and I'm starting to, you know, like him. That's his first tattoo. I'm not doing his first tattoo, but I'm doing his first big tattoo. So I know from there, I'm just gonna like work his sleeve, you know. And I think the next best thing for me would be just start doing things like back pieces, you know, like bigger. I have like maybe like two, but I would just say like start building stuff where I started from scratch. You know, that would be my next project.
Cool. And what's the best way to get in contact with you?
The best way would be through Instagram or my phone number. My Instagram is gallo.inks with the Z at the end. And then my phone number is 714-658-7716.
Cool.
Either or.
Who do you want to thank?
Like in general? Or
Yeah,
by me?
yeah. Who do you want to give it, some shout outs or some
Shit,
thank you?
yeah, that's a good one too. I want to give a shout out to like all the people I've met. You know, I'm not gonna name all of them, but I've met a lot of good people throughout the industry. Some that don't work here, just that they helped me out, you know, and they kind of just always like gave me good advice. But if we're talking about here in the shop, I want to give a shout out to like Bogus. I feel like he, from the start, he always kind of just gave me good advice, and even when he wasn't just giving me advice, he just allowed me the opportunity to just come here and watch him tat, you know. And just when I started working here, like everyone here was always like on good energy, you know, just welcomed me here. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Bogus, Cody, Bovey, Ivan, you know, and some of the guys that don't work here too, like Chris, Garf, you know. Chris was one of the ones that was kind of telling me to start working here. He was like, talk to Andrew, you know, maybe, you know, he'll have a spot for you. And I was really self-conscious. I was like, I don't think I can, but he kept like drilling it in my head, like, bro, just talk to him, until I finally did, and so it worked. He doesn't work here anymore, but yeah, shout out to Chris. And yeah, man, like just shout out to everyone in the shop. You know, thanks to them, like I said before, I've done like the biggest growth that I've done in my 5 years. Like this past year has been like the biggest growth I've done just because of the environment alone.
Sick.
Yeah, man.
Well, make sure you guys follow Gallo on Instagram, set your appointments, get tatted, and yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, bro, and thank you, bro. Thank you. Shout out to Blasting Network for the interview, bro. I appreciate you reaching out and, you know, giving me this. This will honestly help me a lot because I have like a friend too that's helping me do videos and whatnot, and I've been trying to get that practice going of talking on camera, just, you know, throughout my tattoos or doing an interview. So this definitely puts me like on the spot and gives me the practice I need, you know. So I
Sick.
appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, bro.